Welcome to the Personal Development Mastery Podcast. I'm 𝗁𝗁𝗄𝗯𝗲 and my mission is to inspire you to rise up, grow, stand out and take action towards the next level of your life. I interview leaders, influencers, entrepreneurs, authors, exceptional people who can and will inspire you to improve your life. Tune in for 2 episodes each week and make sure you subscribe to the podcast to get the episodes as soon as they are released. In today's show, I am delighted to speak with 𝗁𝗁𝗄𝗆𝗃. 𝗁𝗁𝗃, you are a Los Angeles native, a life and wellness coach, a podcast host, and the creator of 𝗁𝗲𝗄𝗆𝗄𝗆, an intentional movement and mindfulness pursuit that encourages you to become your best self. Your mission is to help ambitious women become the women they are meant to be, to attract the dream life they are meant to have by mastering their mind, body, and actions. 𝗁𝗁𝗃, welcome. I'm overjoyed to have you today.
Thank you so much. I deeply appreciate you having me on. This has been some time in the works. I know we've connected on so many different platforms, I guess you could say, and different challenges, and it's nice to meet face to face.
Finally catch up. Yeah, I think it was quite a few months when we first communicated with each other. 𝗁𝗁𝗃, I want to start with something that I wanted maybe a clarification. So you say that you are, and I will quote you on this, just a woman looking to touch lives, create change and help others live their lives more passionately and purposefully. So I want to know in your journey towards this realization, towards becoming this person, is there any particular milestone or key defining moment that stands out for you?
You know, there's several. I think we all have these moments in time that kind of wake us up to a new reality. So I've actually been, I've been self-employed for about 17 years, doing what I called at the time a job that I kind of fell into, and it's a professional fit model. So basically I fit clothing, it's fit exactly to my body and then mass produced for every size. So I started this 17 years ago. It was going to be something just for money, right? And I was actually only going to do it for a year, end up being, as I said, 17 years later. But for about 8 years, I would say, I've been trying to figure out what is it that I'm meant to do. I studied fashion design. That's kind of how I fell into the fit modeling. But I really, I was navigating my life and trying to figure out, like, what am I so passionate about? And I dabbled in things, but nothing stuck. And come to find out, you know, I'm in this job that makes the money, which gives me the ability to try other things per se. But I, for so long, didn't know what I was passionate about and really what was my purpose. I was meant to serve. And it's something that just fueled inside of me, like burning to get that answer. So honestly, how it was all discovered was through my own personal development. My own struggles really gave me the realization of really where I'm meant to serve. And actually, I only uncovered it a couple years ago, like 2.5, 3 years ago, I finally discovered, and it really came, and this is kind of how my podcast was birthed, 𝗁𝗁𝗄𝗆𝗃 podcast, as you know about, was I was going through my own personal development journey. I had this breaking moment, if you want to say, that kind of woke me up, that I realized I kept getting the same result. I would change little things and I would learn all these lessons and I would do a little tweak, but really, ultimately, I wasn't really changing myself. I was just shifting in little ways.
Yes.
And so I realized I kept on getting the same lesson over and over on this 101 level, 201 level, 301 level. And then finally it hit me one day. And what I struggled so much in, besides trying to find my passion and purpose, what I struggled so much in was relationships. I really sought love. And I've had multiple long-term relationships, 13 to 23, a 10-year relationship that significantly impacted me. I had a 5-year relationship. And then after that, I was just meeting the wrong men. But honestly, when it came down to it, my breaking moment was realizing I am the common denominator in this situation. If I don't take a hard look at myself and realize what needs to change, nothing will change. So that kind of was my breaking moment where I started this hardcore personal development journey. And in this journey, I started listening to a lot of podcasts, started listening, like surrounding myself with things that would help me grow. Because I've always believed if you're not growing, you're dying. And I seek growth in my life. And so just to answer your question, really, is that my breaking moment was doing the work myself. But then in that, I learned a lot that really it comes down to taking ownership of our life and full responsibility. And that to me was like the biggest pivotal moment of my life when I'm like, this is my responsibility. My life is my responsibility. And if I don't take ownership and I don't take control and get into the driver's seat and start steering it the right direction and close the gap between where I'm at and where I want to go, then I will stay in this freaking hamster wheel of trying to figure it all out and just hitting the same wall. So that's kind of, I hope that answers your question of kind of these pivotal moments of my life that I came to realize that something needs to change.
It doesn't. I can relate because I have something similar in terms of this gap that you mentioned, that the realization that my life was not where I wanted it to be. So you said so, but by your own struggles, you came to that turning point. Was there something in particular that triggered that? Because you said the word moment. Was it indeed a moment, or was it
Yes.
gradual?
Well, actually, I would say it was something that was building up. Like I said, I really believe life is always teaching us something if we look for the answers. I really believe it's like life is this journey that is just a series of lessons we're meant to learn to get us to our highest self, our best self. And it's not an end result. It's just a journey that continues. So it was kind of like I kept on getting the same lesson. And as I mentioned, it happened to be in relationships. But really, when it came down to it, it wasn't about the relationships with others and that love I seeked. It was more like the lesson I needed to learn is to love myself. And that was the game-changing moment for me, is like, if I seek this love for another, how could I receive this if I'm not giving it to myself, if I'm not showing up in my worth, if I'm not valuing myself, respecting myself, most importantly, how could I get that in the return? So the pivotal moment when I finally, I've met, like I said, I had substantial relationships that were with quality men, and I met other quality men and dated and whatnot. But the pivotal moment was when I found somebody that I thought like, oh, this maybe is the one, what I hoped for. And I liked him. And I went through a series of hard moments at the time. It's kind of like when it rains, it pours. So that was kind of the moment for me. But what happened is, again, I felt I pushed somebody away that I really liked. And I was really upset with myself. Like, why is this happening again? Like, I don't want to keep repeating the same thing over and over and making little changes, but nothing really truly changes. So the moment was that kind of ending per se. And I did two really powerful things. I said yes to working with my life coach again. This wasn't the first time. It was actually the third time, but this time I didn't have the means at the time, but I'm like, if I don't say yes to this, then if nothing changes, nothing will change. So I had to be very intentional and say, yes, I must do this. It's not a should, it's a must. And I will figure out the means, which I always can. I should kind of remind myself that I always can figure it out. So I think we all need to remind ourselves, like, no matter what, we can find a way. If we're determined enough, we will find a way. We're resourceful. Us humans are so resilient. So I said yes to working with my life coach again. I found the means. And then also the second most important step was being very intentional in the pursuit of becoming my best self, for having this not end result. I hate to say that because like I said, I think it's a journey, but achieving something, to actually getting closer to where I want to go. And so why I say intentional is so important, because when you do anything, you have to go fully in. You don't dabble. You don't half-ass shit. You won't get anywhere if you do that. I don't know if I could swear, but when I'm passionate, I swear. So you just have to be very committed to yourself, most importantly. And this is one thing I shared on the Tony Robbins challenge recently, like say yes to yourself. You know, if you stay committed, if you're disciplined, you're basically just standing for you. You're saying yes to that I'm worth it, that I'm worthy, that I deserve to be seen. I deserve to shine my light. I deserve to be loved. I am enough. So I think being disciplined is just disciplined and intentional is so critical to getting results. So that was what I did too. And that was my pivotal moment where I was like, enough is enough. And I threw up my hands. I'm like, something needs to change. So that was it.
I get it. And I think many people get it. There are these moments that you really know that something needs to change, and even if you don't know what, it is enough to take you into a journey. And Erika, you said earlier that that phrase that it's not a should, it's a must, or something along that lines, which is by Tony Robbins. You mentioned him already. And I want to ask, when you started your journey, what was the role, shall we say, of Tony Robbins, who is, by the way, the way through you and me met as well, through one of his events. But can you tell me, how has he changed you?
I love TR. I'm such a Tony Robbins fan. I'm all about him. And I know, obviously, that's why we connected. But yes. What I love about him, this is what I could say, and I want to really drive this home because I think this is important. Tony Robbins, number one, is brilliant. And he's spent 44 years of his life committed to changing lives, to really helping people change their mindset and take control and ownership of their life. But what is so magnificent is it's simplistic. The simple things he says, you're like, oh my gosh, that's a nugget. Like, I need to write that down. That's so powerful. And it could be like literally 5 words that could change your life. Like he said, and I highly believe this, that if you want to change your life, change your standards, raise your standards. And I think that is so pivotal. Like, I think people need to look at, like, the results you're getting are based on your standards. Change your standards, change your life. Change your language, change your life. Like, change your story, change your life. And all these things are so powerful, and it's so true. I could preach it all day long because it's so good. And I just really value everything he shares. But I think raise your standards is so important, because going back to relationships, I was settling for less than I deserved because, number one, I thought I deserved that. And then also I wasn't stepping into my worth of what I truly deserved. So my standards were low because I thought that's what I deserved, at the time. It was this, it's almost like you're wired that way. So that's why we had to retrain our story and look at our limitations and how we could really shift into an empowering life opposed to disempowering. And so I don't know if I answered your question, but there's so many powerful nuggets taken from Tony Robbins. So he's changed my life because, honestly, the simplistic things he's said have really stood out to me, and taking those simple words, like, it's a must. This is how I feel about 2021. My life right now, anything I decide is a must, and anything I put my energy into is a must. It is not a should. It's not a want, it's a must. If I really want it, I have to change my mindset and really embody that belief, So that's really changed my life. And the energy, my state, the state we bring is the state we receive back. I think that's just so important. So, yeah.
Fantastic. And what you just said, that anything you decide, it's a must. I think it's a very empowering statement for anyone to realize that deeply, because a decision, by definition, a decision is a must. Once you decide, there is no other option. You've decided. So looking at it as a must really moves you forward. Eric, I wanted to discuss something that I know that you are very passionate about, and that is mastering your mind, your body, your life, mastery in general. And I was thinking about that earlier, that you're in the right podcast to talk about
Yeah,
mastery. So
exactly.
let me ask first of all, what does mastery, excuse me, what does mastery mean to you?
Ooh, that's a good question. I love that because I don't believe mastery is some end result. But what mastery to me is whatever it may be, whatever you choose to master in your life, may it be your mind, your actions, your body, whatever it is, it's basically taking that vision. Again, I think getting clarity on your vision is probably the most important thing. So having that vision and saying, what do I need to do to achieve that result or to get where I want to go? And mastery is doing it over and over and over again so that you feel confident enough that you've arrived per se. But mastery to me is one of those things that not many people seek to do. But I personally, I want to master myself. I want to be unstoppable, unshakable, ever so powerful for myself. So I could create the life I deserve and want, and also create a ripple effect, outside me so I can impact others. So mastery to me is really important in your podcast, personal mastery. Personal mastery. I think we are so lucky to have all these resources available for us. Like we just did the 5-day challenge for free.
Yes.
I think it's what a gift. What a gift. We are giving ourselves that gift. So to be able to take this personal development journey, it's a privilege. And I think mastery, that's just what I seek in myself and in my life.
And I welcome you as a fellow traveler in this journey. And I know it's not many people do it, Erika, because it's not easy. It's not. It takes
Exactly.
consistency. It takes discipline. It takes dealing with the disappointments, and yeah, it is not easy. But for people who decide to pursue it, it is essential because it is so fulfilling. Can you tell me, you distinguish the master in yourself in terms of mind, body, and actions, if I'm not mistaken. So I want a brief overview of these three areas, as as three compartments of our life that you help people to master.
Yeah. Well, I've kind of broke it down into a framework. So, first let me say that I myself think mastering your body is the best place to start. And it's actually one of the programs I'm going to be launching. It's going to be called Mastering Your Body. And there's a reason why I'm starting there, especially is because I believe when you master your body, that creates ripple effect into everything in your life. Because when you feel energized, when you have vitality, when you feel, that you are unstoppable, that just creates so much more energy in everything you do. So I believe starting with the body physiology is one of the best ways to change your life. And so that is something that I obviously take to heart. I work out probably 5 days a week, but I've been working out since I was 13. I mean, it's really been a part of me. To me, it's a lifestyle. It's not it's not like I have this goal per se. It's a part of me. It has become a part of me. So when it comes to mastering your body, I think, movement is health, vitality, energy, everything. So that is number one to me when it comes to like where to begin. But as far as the framework, we always have to, the mind and body is never separate. So you have to bring in the mind. So I like to start with, when I name a framework for mastering your mind, body, and actions, it's developing clarity, radical responsibility, clearing the roadblocks, and then mastering your energy and action. So that's kind of like the start of the framework. So when we talk about developing clarity, I said how clarity is power. Having clarity is the most important thing. It's also self-awareness. You could kind of tie them together. So clarity is really having, like, what do I want out of my life? What do I deserve? Who do I need to be? Who do I need to become? And having that clarity, that powerful vision, and the compelling why of what you want to create in your life. And you need to slap that on a wall and see it, embody it. I think that's so important. I've interviewed so many people on the importance of visualization, and I never really got it before, and I never really stepped into it. But now I'm like, I get it. It connects you to your why, your vision. So developing clarity is number one. Take 5. Well, no, don't take 5 minutes. Don't take 10 minutes. Take a day. Go somewhere that's going to quiet your mind. I love nature. Be in nature, and just kind of journal it. Just start saying, like, what do I want out of my life, and getting really clear of and write down the feelings, the smells, whatever. The more clear you are, the better it is. And then ask yourself, why do I want this? Tony Robbins talks about that compelling why. It really matters. What's my purpose for? Because you need something to drive you there. If you just have this vision, but not a big enough why, like, for example, if somebody says, oh, I want to lose 5 pounds because, Valentine's Day is coming up, which is right around the corner, because I want to look sexy for my boyfriend or my husband. That's nice, right? But what's a bigger why? Because you want to bring that energy, that vitality, that state, and you want to feel good in your skin. Because what does that make you feel? That makes you feel more powerful, and that makes you more passionate for everything you do. So anyways, I could go on and on about that. But so developing clarity is number one.
Yes.
And that self-awareness. The next one, radical responsibility. I mentioned this earlier, that I think it's one of the most powerful things that will change your life, is when you take ownership of your life, because you are part of the equation to everything in your life. You are 100% responsibility for your outcome in your life. And it's a hard truth. Some people don't like to hear that you're responsible for your outcome in your life, but you are in the driver's seat. And how empowering is that, to be in the driver's seat of your life, that you have the capability to create what you want. And so I think that when it comes to responsibility, you have to ask yourself, what part did I play in this? What was my actions that got me here? What were my lack of actions that got me here? What were my beliefs and all that? So, and the next one is clearing the roadblocks. And this is probably one of the most important that Tony Robbins talks about. And sorry, we're bringing Tony Robbins a lot into this interview, but there's a reason why.
I had the feeling we would, but it's okay.
But so clearing the roadblocks, I like to say that because we're on this journey, we're on this path, if you want to say. And if you're looking at a road, it's not a clear road to the end, the end that we see in sight. It's so windy. It's hills up and down, up and down. We can't even see the end, because number one, there isn't an end until we die. And not to sound, dark, that we're going to die someday, but the reality is we are going to die someday. So we're going to live this life that we want to live because we choose to. We've decided, right? So we need to get rid of the roadblocks that we will endure, as COVID has presented us with. We will always, the most unexpected thing, which it was definitely COVID and how long it's lasted, it will always come. Problems will always arise. So we need to get rid of those roadblocks, which are our limiting beliefs, the story we tell ourselves. And, I'm not going to go into how to rewrite your limiting beliefs, but because there's a process, but we need to really understand what's in our way. And we have to learn how to handle those roadblocks and go over them, not just like turn around and avoid them. We have to be honest, and we have to learn how to build this resilience and grit to get past them. And the next one is mastering your energy. So like I mentioned, our energy is everything. Energy is always a part of our energy is our universe, right? Everything around us. So mastering our energy is, what do we bring to the room? What state are we in? And we have to really take ownership of how we're showing up and really learn how to shift that as I've really learned how easy it is to change our state. And the 3 core ways to do that, as Tony Robbins talks about, is physiology, changing, a radical change in your body. I'm a big person into working out. So I know that if I work out, I'll instantly feel better. If I go jump on my rebounder, I'm going to feel so youthful and so like playful because I'm just jumping around. Get in my cold shower and I dance, like that instantly puts me in a good mood.
Yes.
So that's easy. And then changing our language is another way to change your state, is how the words you put to things. And then the other one is, what's the other one? Oh my gosh, I just went blank. So changing your language, changing your words,
focus.
changing your state. Oh yes, your focus. Where your focus goes, energy flows. Yes. If you focus on the negative, of course, things are going to be negative. That's given. So, and then the last one is, of course, mastering your action. And without action, your dreams, your vision won't come to life. So we really have to get clear on what actions do we need to take. And this is one thing I would love to share, that, and this is something that I'm learning even more into depth these days.
Yes.
Mark Divine has been on my podcast. I love Mark Divine. He's taught me breath work. He's taught me the power of meditation. But one of his most powerful tools, and this is especially a Navy SEAL tool, is when you have a big goal, an audacious goal that you want to go after, that could be overwhelming.
Yeah.
And the way to make it less overwhelming is you break that down into little micro goals. And you tackle micro things daily. So when it comes to taking action, mastering your actions is really breaking down into micro goals. That is the way you will get your big audacious goal. And so that's kind of the framework I like to share with others. I mean, there's much more, but that's the basics.
No, I think you covered it very, very well, and you gave an overview of all the steps, and I agree with you. It's extremely important, the clarity that you said, knowing who we are. It's so important, and sometimes I wonder, this phrase, know thyself, has been out there for thousands of years, and still here we are, all this, millennia afterwards, and we're still trying to figure that out, to know ourselves. And also,
can I add to that?
Of course.
Actually, I wanted to add to that. So when it comes to clarity, I think the most important thing you need to do is write down, what do you value? What are your principles? What's your philosophy for life? That, I think really a lot of people don't do. And this could really trickle into relationships too, because once you start to write down, like, what do I want in a person? What do I stand for? What do I believe? Who do I need to become to be in alignment with what I desire? And that's why I talk about helping women become the women they're made to be, to attract what they desire in life, because it's one thing to have this vision for what you want, but you have to think of, who am I being? Am I in alignment for what I want? So I think we really need to ask ourselves, most importantly, in the clarity aspect, is, what are my values? What are my principles? What is my philosophy for life? And that is unique to you and you alone. And own that. Like, take ownership of what you really truly value. And that's how you become your authentic self, is really stepping into that. So I just wanted to add that little piece.
Thank you. I agree with you. You see me nodding because I agree 100%. And in a way, it's a shame that these things are not really being taught to us traditionally. We have to go and figure them out ourselves. But hopefully times are changing, and these kinds of conversations and the ease that information goes around now, it's going to change that.
Yes.
That actually brings me, Erica, I wanted to ask you about your podcast, which I know that you are very passionate about, and it's actually a fantastic podcast. I'm a fan myself. You have brought some tremendous people there, very inspirational. Can you tell me one thing that you have learned by doing your podcast?
So hard to pull out one thing. Well, first of all, thank you for being a listener to Passion Love Pursuit podcast. It's my baby. I feel like when I first started it, I didn't really know, number one, what I was doing. And this is for everybody out there that's afraid to start something because you don't know how to do it. Just jump in. Yes. You'll figure it out along the way, because let me just tell you, a lot of people don't know. And there's a lot, the thing is, I remember when I was first recording interviews, number one, I would never do video, forget it, because I needed to remember what I was asking people. And if I looked at somebody, they would distract me. So that's how I started. And I actually edit all my podcasts myself. I do pretty much everything by myself. And part of the reason why I do that is because I want to know what I'm doing. And I want to be able to answer questions if somebody asks me. And I think I've asked very popular podcasters, like, hey, I remember early on, what program do you use? And they didn't even know, because somebody else did it. Mm-hmm. And so I like the fact that I have the knowledge of how to do it. And I did my own research and I learned it myself. But the thing is, when you want to start something, don't think you need to know everything to start, because I promise you, along the journey, you will learn. And that's the best part, is that you get to learn. You get to learn these tools because you're in it. So podcasting, as you probably know, it's a commitment. You have to be committed. And I think it's funny or not funny. Let me reword that. So I'm sure you get it too. Like, how do you start a podcast? Well, I don't know the first thing to do. And the first thing I want to tell people, don't be doing it for a hobby, because let me just tell you, it's a very time consuming hobby and you won't last. And then you're going to feel like you just wasted your time. I mean, you might get benefits, part of the reason why I started my podcast was because I was wanting to be on the journey with everybody else, because I'm in this personal development journey. It's never going to end. I'm going to always choose growth. So I was on the journey with you, or am with you. And I always say, don't start it if it's going to be a hobby, unless you really want to do it just for shits and giggles, go ahead. By all means. But if you want to be committed to it, if you really want a good outcome, you have to stay consistent and you have to go fully in and just learn along the way, because you'll always get better and better. I've seen my improvement like night and day. Oh my goodness. And now I do video. So that's awesome. So the other thing, so Passion Love Pursuit podcast, the guests, yes, I feel so privileged beyond words that I could express of the phenomenal guests I've had. What a privilege, what an honor. I've had 𝗏 which is, stands on the stage with Tony Robbins, speaks to kids. He is just fire. Wow. And then I've had Siri Lindley. Siri Lindley to me is one of my most favorite, respected guests I've had. She's brought me to tears at the end. I love her. I adore her. But I could almost every time when I record with a guest, I get off after and I'm like, oh, that was so good. And I'm just so fired up, because I do carefully choose my guests, because I want to provide value, and I want to make sure I'm providing value from somebody that has something to serve another and can speak from experience. And that has, that I love vulnerability. Vulnerability is my superpower. So I love people that share their story and that share how they arrived to where they are and how they gain this expertise. But you asked me this question, what have I gained most from my guests? So it's hard to pull out one thing, but the biggest thing that people say, and I could 100% guarantee that this is like a common denominator between pretty much every successful person, they meditate. They meditate. Every person I probably interviewed, they meditate in some form. Don't think you need to be like cross-legged, going and all this stuff. They meditate in some way. They connect to their higher self or God, universe, whatever it may be. They do some form of meditation. And this year, again, this is where I said, I must. It's not a should. It's not a want. I must meditate every day, and I will not fail myself of that. I will gift myself every day the power of meditation. So I had started this journey, and I'm starting breath work as well. So that was my biggest thing, is I realized through all these people, the common thing they were saying is how powerful meditation is. And now it's, for me, it's a must. So, but as far as what I've gained from all the powerful speakers I've had, is that we don't need this story that is just so tragic to impact others. We are all powerfully unique, and we all have a story that once was disempowering, and how we've turned it around and made it the most empowering story to share with others, and how each and every one of us has the ability to impact lives, whether it be one person, whether it be 100, thousands, millions. We all are capable. We just really need to take, I love using this word, ownership of our life and step into the arena. Just do it. I like to say, just jump off the freaking cliff. You're going to land. Let's hope not on the ground, but you're going to land. Like, I think it just really, you just have to step into the arena regardless. And don't be afraid to share a part of you. You don't have to just spill it all out. Some people are not comfortable being vulnerable, but the more vulnerable you are, and the more you just speak your truth, the more you will connect to another human, because we are all human. We don't need to be perfect. We don't need some tragic story. We just need to be human, and share it from our heart, and that's it. So I think that's what I've really realized through all the amazing, ridiculous guests I've had, is that I was so, like, I remember when I had 𝗁𝗔𝗄𝘆𝗀𝘄 on last year, I was so nervous before. I'm like, oh my gosh, he's so amazing. And honestly, I think I had a phenomenal interview. I knew who I was talking to, and once I started the interview, I didn't feel this, that I was less than. I was just like inspired by him. If anything, I was taking it all in, opposed to being, feeling less than him, and I think that is really important, that when I started to interview more people, I felt as an equal, and I think that's important. That don't think that just because this person is doing this, or they have this message, they're on stages, they're impacting millions of lives. I don't even like to say this, but Tony Robbins is the king, like, on stage. I don't think anybody can compare to him. I mean, well, there is comparables like Les Brown, but like, why can't you? Why can't you? He's human. You're human. It's just like, how much dedication, how much drive do you have to get to where you want to go? That's really what it comes down to. So.
It's
and I'm telling myself that, by the way. I'm not just telling you that. I'm telling myself that. So I'm on this journey with you.
Yes, of course, I would say that Tony Robbins is a little bit of an extreme example to say that we can do it. But because his amount of dedication and all these years, it's probably very, very unique. But there were some things you were saying earlier when you were talking about your podcast, that and I want to reiterate myself that if you don't have your passion, try and do and find things that you won't find your passion, by thinking about it. It's by trying and doing things, and then because you feel it in your heart, you do something. Like it was, I remember, Erica, very clearly when I did my first ever recording of a podcast, which was not this one, it was my first podcast. And I had this tremendous energy and vitality then for hours. And I thought, wait a minute, there is something here. I don't feel like that normally. And so it's, I like very much the phrase joyous exploration of, activities that we can do. And once you find what you are passionate about, what is close to your heart and dear in your heart, you do it, and you get good at it as well, because you have this kind of energy that comes, this enthusiasm that comes from within. No one has to tell you, oh, you have to do your podcast, Erica. I'm sure you get up and do it because you are very much inspired to do so.
Yeah. And actually, I'll add to that. So I'm big on getting outside my comfort zone. And when it comes to figuring out your passions, you don't just keep doing the same thing. You actually have to get outside your comfort zone and learn and see what you are passionate about by doing that. And I think that is one of the most amazing things you could give yourself, is stepping outside your comfort zone, because that's where you grow. I remember when I started rock climbing, I loved rock climbing. And that's one of those things that, like, okay, I've never done this, I'll try. And it ended up being something I was super passionate about. And there's so many gifts that actually come with rock climbing, surprisingly. But it's one of those things that, you know, you don't know what you're doing. It's so new for you. But if you try it, you'd be surprised. Like, then that's how you learn what you love. And the more you do things you love, the more, energy, vitality, fulfillment you have in your life. You have to be doing things outside your comfort zone to learn that. So that's really important.
Absolutely. It's the journey of growth, or the spiral of...
Yes.
Erika, I would love to ask you some quick fire questions as well to start wrapping things up. So, first of all, what does personal development mean to you?
Well, like I said,
you're very
it's a
big
journey.
at it. You were saying earlier, but
Yeah, I think it's just a journey that I think it's a privilege we get to be on the journey. I think it's a gift we're giving ourselves. And
yes.
when we give that to ourselves, it only creates a ripple effect in the world. Because the more our cup is full, then it can overflow onto others. And some people, I actually remember this. In the Tony Robbins challenge, there was this guy that commented to me, and he said my vision or my compelling why wasn't big enough because it seemed selfish. And I was like, did you not hear how I said that I want to continue my development because I want to serve from my highest self, that I want to serve more? Where did selfishness come out of that? And I thought it was really interesting because, like Tony Robbins says, and I hate bringing him up all the time, but I always like to pull him out. But he says some really valuable things, and it's nothing that we haven't heard before. When you're in an airplane, who do you put the mask on first? You put it on yourself, so that you could help the next person. Because if you're passing out, you can't help another person. So no matter what, we always have to help ourselves first. Like I said, though, the biggest lesson I learned in my life was self-love. And if I didn't love myself, how could I expect to get the love in return? So we have to help ourselves, and helping ourselves is through personal development. I think we are so lucky today to have so many resources at our disposal to improve ourselves. And I mean, the books on my shelf, they're pretty much all personal development, because it's just something I love. I love bettering myself. That is my absolute goal, is to master myself so that I could serve so many more from this place of full, like being full, and actually having control of myself so that I could actually help others achieve what they want out of life, because if I haven't got there, how could I help others? Right. So that's what I think personal development is just this journey, and we get to choose to be on it or not.
Thank you. That's a wonderful answer. You said it's a gift we give to ourselves, and again, I can relate very much to what you're saying, Erika. Tell me something else. If you could go back in time and meet your 18-year-old self, what's the one piece of advice you would give her?
Okay, I'm going back to my 18-year-old self. So, like, the biggest thing is all you need is already within you. And don't seek things outside of yourself, because what you need is to love yourself more. And I'm like, it makes me want to cry when I think of this, because it was my journey. Like, I seeked things outside myself, and I wasn't connected to who I was. I didn't know who I was at this time. I was in this relationship 13 to 23 with somebody that was 3 years older. So I formed into liking the same thing he liked. I didn't know who I was, and I had bad acne back then. I just like, I didn't truly love myself or know my worth. So if I could just go back, I would just say, all you need is within you. And the love you give to yourself will then be reflected back to you. So start there. That's what I would say.
That's fantastic. Let me ask you one more hypothetical question. If you could wave a magic wand and change something in the world as it is today, what would you change?
Easy answer. So I am super passionate about helping mental health in kids. I had depression when I was younger. I almost committed suicide when I was 15. And I was actually on antidepressants when I tried it. And I hate seeing how the state of our children are. The age of suicide is what, I think it's 10 to 18, if I'm correct. How devastating is that? That when you haven't even become an adult, you're thinking to end your life. I mean, I don't think there's anything more devastating than that. And what I desire with my full heart is to help that, to be, I truly believe that we need this type of stuff, meaning life coaching, life skills in schools. We need to teach kids like what mindset is, how to change your story. Like I think it is the most needed thing more than anything. And it is my desire to be a part of that. And if I could wave a wand, it would be for kids to have the resources that they will engage in, right? To make it a fun way, whatever it may be, to give them the courage, the resilience they need to get just to adulthood. If we were taught all these things when we were younger, imagine where we would be now. So it starts from our childhood. It starts from our young adulthood. And so that, if I could pull out one thing, that's definitely something I'm super passionate about. I would love to do much more than that, but yeah.
No, that's amazing. Eric, I'm very, very big on giving to the listener always some kind of actionable item. And I know you've already mentioned quite a few, but if we go back and imagine from this conversation, what's the one actionable item you will share with the listener that they can implement immediately or tomorrow morning?
Okay, so I guess I'll kind of reiterate something I've already said.
Yes.
Take time to be with you. Take time to be silent. I think being alone is one of the greatest things because we don't get that enough in this busy world. I mean, I know it's a lot more quiet because of COVID, but that was a gift, really, truly, because I think a lot of people started to reevaluate their lives. So do that now. Evaluate your life. Evaluate your values, your principles. Get to know you. Get to know your true, authentic self. And I believe being authentic, being vulnerable is your superpower. But how do you get there is you have to strip down all the lies you tell yourself. You have to take apart the story you told yourself. And the only way you could do that is being quiet with yourself and jotting things down, journaling. I remember when I had my little breaking moment, part of it was I really wanted, like I talked about, relationship was my struggle. And I really wanted to meet the quality man that I desired or dreamed of. And I did within like 2 months. And I'm with him. And he's incredible. He's everything I wished for. It was everything I jotted down. It was the values I wanted in a person. But the reason how I was able to attain that was not only getting clear of what I wanted, but also getting clear, am I being the person that could have that?
Yes.
So you need to really evaluate yourself and own your shit. Like own your story, own your shit. Whatever, like I said, responsibility will change your life. Take ownership for your life. You need to, David Goggins is somebody that's really harsh. And he says, like, if you're fat, say you're fat. Tell yourself you're fat. Because you know what? If you tell yourself you're fat, and I think this is a little harsh, but I'm trying to give a hard example. You need to tell yourself the honest truth. And then say to yourself, okay, enough is enough. I don't want to be fat. I want to be feeling good in my body. I want to be energized. I want to have vitality. I want to look good. I want to attract the right partner. And the only way you could do that is if you look at your shit and, break it into pieces and then evaluate, okay, what are my values? What are my principles? What is my philosophy for life? And I think that's the most powerful thing you could do right now. We all have the ability to do it right now, and just at least take a day to be with you. Go out in nature. Nature is so healing, so peaceful, puts you in a meditative state regardless. So, yeah.
Thank you. That's not only a powerful message, but also a beautiful piece of advice. So thank you very much. And I also will second that and advise the listener to do that if it's so immensely important. So Erica, I want to thank you very much for this fascinating conversation. I really enjoyed your passion, and I think your message was coming through from different angles. I think it is the same message that comes across to me, so it was great to see you go from different angles on the same core message, if I can say so. I want to wish you all the very best with your mission of empowering others, and I'm very blessed to be on a similar mission myself, and I'm delighted that our paths have crossed, and all the very best with everything you do. Any last parting words?
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you so much, 𝗁𝗲. It's been a pleasure. We're on different sides of the world, and it's just so nice we get to connect this way. And I just want to thank you for all you are doing, because you are creating a ripple effect in the world. And the work we are doing is so, so vital. Yes. And the world needs more positivity. And it's not just about positivity. It's more about transformable change. And the only way that could happen is by doing the work on ourselves and embracing our shit, but also taking ownership of our life and creating it the masterpiece we choose it to be, And so I just thank you for holding this space for me and welcome me on the podcast. And yeah, everybody listen to Passion, Love, Pursuit podcast. It's a personal development podcast like yours. And I think a lot of people really appreciate the value that is shared by all the guests. And if you want to learn more about me, 𝗁𝗂𝗃𝗍𝗄𝗏. And I live on social media, mostly Instagram, at 𝗁𝗂𝗃𝗍𝗄𝗏. So yeah, I would love to connect with all of you. Thank you.
Fantastic. Erica, thank you. It's been a real pleasure to share the space with you today.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and rate Personal Development Mastery on Apple Podcasts, and also share this episode with someone who you think will benefit from it. If you want to become part of an exclusive community, gain access to unique content, and at the same time support this podcast, then become my patron. The link is in the show notes, or you can type bit.ly/pdmpat. If you want to know more about what I do and how I can help you, join my Facebook group Personal Development Mastery. Again, the link is in the show notes, or you can simply type bit.ly/pdmgroup. And until next time, stand out, don't fit in,